All right, you guys, this is going to be hopefully a funny reaction video to something that my wife sent me. It's a VOX video that talks about how more people are using subtitles when they watch TVs and movies. Now, as an audio professional, to me, that would be a gigantic message like bing, 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 you're failing at your job. Now, as an audio professional, I also know that there's things that are outside of your control, right? Like the end user's listening environment and the producers and directors that tell you what to do and how they want things to be sounding. So, I'm not putting the blame on anybody here, but I do find it humorous the way they're going to tackle this topic, and even more so the conclusion that they're going to come up with. So enough of the setup. Let's actually see what they're talking about here.
I watch a lot of movies and TV. On the train, at home, in the movies, while working out, doing dishes, in the bath. But no matter where I'm watching, I find myself constantly doing this one thing.
I think it'll always be alright.
What?
I think it'll always be alright.
Okay, so that's clearly an actor who's not doing a good job delivering their lines, or perhaps they are doing exactly what they were asked to do. Whisper it in an almost inaudible tone because that's going to add drama to the scene. Let's go on.
I think it'll always be alright. I think it'll always be alright.
It turns out this isn't unusual. We polled our YouTube audience, and about 57% of people said that they feel like they can't understand the dialogue in the things that they watch unless they're using subtitles. But it feels like this hasn't always been the case. So to figure out what was going on, I made a call.
Hi, my name is Austin Olivia Kendrick. I'm a professional dialogue editor for film and TV. I basically perform audio surgery on actors' words.
Do you watch with subtitles?
I do, actually. I do, a lot of the time.
So why do you think that we all feel like we need subtitles now?
I get asked this question all the time.
Okay, so at this point, I thought, man, we're going to get the answer. She's going to say, this is what the problem is, and this is what we're going to do to fix it. Now, let's see what actually happens.
It doesn't have a simple, straightforward answer.
Okay, why not? I can't wait to hear why the answer is not simple. Make the dialogue louder than the junk around it. Okay, it is pretty simple, actually.
It's very layered and very complex.
And after talking to Austin for almost 2 hours, it's true. It's a very layered and complex topic. But everything kept pointing back to one main thing. Technology that got us from this
I'll get you, my pretty. No, Richard, no, what's happened to your life?
to this.
I just woke up. Austin, wait a second.
Okay, he's going to go and tell us how they had these horrible huge microphones, and the actors were trained to actually speak loudly and project toward the microphone so that we could hear what they were saying. Now, and because the introduction of lapel microphones like I'm wearing now, and shotgun microphones and other techniques that we use to capture on-location audio, and the plethora of additional technology that we have on the post side as far as noise reduction. We no longer have tape, so we have clean digital transfer from one medium to another. All these things we have that we can do a better job because of the technology. He's going to say that that's made it possible to not do as good of a job. Now see if you can wrap your head around that, because I can't.
Let's start with microphones. I'm going to use this clip from Singin' in the Rain to show how mics used to work.
Here's the mic. You talk towards it. The sound goes through the cable to the box. A man records it on a big record in wax.
This scene illustrates some of the difficulties and intricacies of early sound recording. Mics were big, bulky, temperamental, and required creative solutions to be hidden. They were wired and recorded onto hard memory, like wax and eventually tape. No matter how many actors were in a scene, all sound got recorded to one track. So performers had to be diligently focused and facing a certain angle so that their words could be picked up. Otherwise, you couldn't hear a thing.
Now, obviously, that's not what happened, right? There's no such thing as a microphone, especially inside of a room, that is that directional. I mean, sometimes we wish they were, right? They are making a gross exaggeration here about how hard it was to capture dialogue back then. They had their challenges, and yet somehow they were able to do it. And we're not, okay? I can't understand it.
Technology's improved to the point where microphones don't impede performance as much anymore. They've become better, smaller, wireless, and we use more of them to ensure that performances get captured. But once that mumble gets recorded, it's onto a dialogue editor's shoulder to make it as intelligible as possible.
And that was a lot harder when everything was analog. If some piece of dialogue was
Truly impossible to understand, then actors will come in and re-record those specific lines in a process called ADR, or automated dialogue replacement.
that still gets done today, but
ADR also costs money because you're not only paying for the actor's time, you're paying for the engineer's time and then the editor's time. So we try to do ADR, frankly, as little as possible.
Okay, are you seriously going to tell me we can't afford to put the dialogue in the movie properly? That's your defense. Okay, hundreds of millions of dollars to make a movie. And I'm sorry, we ran out of money when we needed to get the dialogue fixed. You can't be serious.
And so a lot of her job is making words sound better.
once she's done with it, it's sent off to a mixer who works to make sure the frequencies of the sound effects and music don't overlap with the frequencies of the human voice. Something that's only possible now that the world has moved away from tape and into digital recordings.
That is a big challenge, carving out those frequencies, that space amongst every other element of the mix for the dialogue to be able to punch through and not be all muddied up by any other sounds that exist in that band of frequencies.
Okay, this is something we talk about in music all the time, is making room for the other instruments and making sure they have their own little space. And that's a real thing.
A lot of people will ask, like, why don't you just turn the dialogue up? Like, just turn it up.
Which brings us to the Christopher Nolan of it all.
A separate structure within the other.
What is that, heavyweight?
Pushing out of orbit.
Nearly every film of his has been criticized for its hard-to-hear dialogue that essentially begs for subtitles. But as his headline explains, he likes it that way. According to an interview in a book called The Nolan Variations, he said that he gets a lot of complaints, even from other filmmakers who would say, I just saw your film and the dialogue is inaudible. The truth was, it was kind of the whole enchilada of how we had chosen to mix it. And in his 2017 interview with IndieWire, he said, we made the decision a couple of films ago that we weren't going to mix films for substandard theaters.
And this is kind of the crux of the matter. The content that we watch here and here and here is not mixed for us primarily.
Re-recording mixers mix for the widest surround sound format that is available. Typically, like big release films, that is Dolby Atmos, which has true 3D sound up to 128 channels.
The thing is, if you're not at a movie theater that can showcase the best sound Hollywood has to offer, you can't experience all of those channels. So after the movie is mixed for the 128 Atmos tracks, somebody has to create a separate version of the film's audio where all those same sounds live on 1 or 2 or 5 tracks. This is called downmixing.
Downmixing is the process of taking that biggest mix and folding it down into formats with lesser channels available to it. So say Atmos down to 7.1, or 7.1 down to 5.1, or 5.1 down to stereo, stereo down to mono.
Okay, I don't know what surround sound has to do with anything. Format conversions have been going for a long time now. And it's obvious if you do a market survey that you're going to find that a large percentage of your content is consumed at home environments, either on the TV in the living room, maybe with or without a sound system, attached to the TV. And even more common nowadays is iPads or tablets or even computers. And oftentimes that's going to have, stereo speakers attached to it, or it's going to, be streamed to a desktop Bluetooth audio device, maybe mono, or maybe you have a couple speakers in one box shooting sound all over the place. The other thing is headphones. I mean, I listen on earbuds. Okay, so now I got a $700, $800, $900 iPad or something, and then a $250 pair of AirPod Pros, and I can't still understand what's being said. Okay, you can't blame that on me. What is wrong with these people, right? That's my fault, okay?
A lot of people will ask, like, why don't you just turn the dialogue up? Like, just turn it up.
Oh, yeah, I think I've been saying that.
If only it was that simple.
What?
Because...
Okay, here she's going to tell me that they can't for some reason.
A big thing that we want to preserve is a concept called dynamic range. The range between your quietest sound and your loudest sound. If you have your dialogue that's going to be at the same volume as an explosion that immediately follows it, the explosion is not going to feel as big. You need that contrast in volume in order to give your ear a sense of scale.
Okay, I get this, right? This makes perfect sense. We have more dynamic range capability in all the mediums that we use to transport this material. We have more than we want, okay? When we're listening in our home environments and in our cars with the noise floor of the car, even a quiet car. We just can't have that dynamic range. It would be too loud, right? So she's saying, well, then we got to push the dialogue down so we can still get that explosion to have this visceral reaction to it. And I don't think people are really asking for that. I really don't. This comes into how loud movies are listened to or television shows are listened to. There is an ideal listening level. 85 dB is what they use for television calibration in a mixed environment. And that's supposed to ensure that the dialogue stays at a level that's comfortable for the listener, and all the elements then get built around the dialogue. The dialogue's called the anchor. So we have standards and protocols for how to do this and make sure the dialogue stays the focus of the storyline, because the consumers have spoken on this issue. We have, right? And it's been such a mess in the content creation world that the federal government had to get involved. And when that happens, things are never good. We said we don't want this, okay? The consumer has said we don't like it. 57% of the people are having to turn on closed captioning, okay? That means we don't like what you're doing. Okay, but you're going to do it anyway.
When you combine not great speakers, naturalistic mumbly performances, dynamic range featuring bombastic sounds over dialogue, and a flattened mix, it's no wonder we have trouble hearing what's going on.
The way movies get mixed likely isn't going to revert back to super pristine dialogue. So the solutions we have are: 1, buy better speakers and only go to theaters that have impeccable sound.
Are you crazy? What's wrong with this dude? Is he paid by Hollywood? Of course he is, right? I mean, you're telling me to buy better speakers. I'm telling you, with a pair of quality headphones on, I can't understand what's being said.
2, take a chill pill and try to just worry a little bit less.
Take a chill pill? Really? I mean, you want me to go out and spend my money on your product, and then when I tell you I don't like it, you tell me to take a chill pill? This is not a recipe for long-term success. I'm sorry.
Worry a little bit less about picking up every single word that gets said.
I mean, why would you want to understand all the dialogue? Is it really that important, John? I mean, come on now.
Or 3, just keep the subtitles on.
This guy just told me to always watch with the subtitles on. That's the solution. I watched this 10-minute long video thinking we were going to get to some kind of agreement as an industry consumer cooperative here and agree that we need to do a better job making the dialogue clear in movies and TV shows. And what I got out of this video is we don't care, we're not going to change anything, and the problem is you.